Podcast live, baby.
Yeah, baby. What's going on, everybody?
Hey,
welcome back to the second episode.
So many things to look at.
There are a lot of things to look at. We've got a lot going on behind the scenes on set right now. But yeah, welcome to the second episode of the Little Dicey Podcast. My name is Salvatore. This is Matthew. We are your co-hosts here at A Little Dicey. And we sort of decided that today and then subsequently, however long it's going to take us to get through all of them, we're going to be ranking every single one of the published 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons classes that you can just, if you go like make an account on D&D Beyond or buy a player's handbook or whatever, you can just pick these classes up. And we're going to be talking about them. We're going to be ranking them from S tier to F tier. S tier, of course, as everybody knows, stands for suck, dude. S tier is just who's sucking in like the best, like most
in like
gentle,
a real Nancy Reagan sense.
Oh, the God bless her, the goat herself, Nancy Reagan. Yeah, just, you know, everyone loves. I can't speak for everyone. I love a good suck.
I almost S for snotted just now.
Oh yeah, good. As for a lot, as for any bodily function that we appreciate, yeah. So obviously S tier, top of the line, sucking. F tier. Surprising, a lot of people might be thinking like, oh, F tier must be if S tier is suck, then F tier must be. It's actually flirty. It's actually flirty. F tier is just like.
It's kind of nice, but it's a little bit of a tease.
Yeah.
You know
what I mean?
Like flirty is nice for a while, but at some point, you know.
I have to tell you an anecdote real quick before we jump in, because
get up or get down, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah.
This is, I thought about this for such a long time since I think one of my best friends, I won't use his name, but he, when I was like 19 or so from high school, we were like going out somewhere. I think it was in like Canada or something. Shout out to Aaron.
Shouts out to both Gamer Girls.
Shouts out to Gamer Girls.
Who is the throat goatiest class? That's what we're going to find out.
That's what we're going to find out. Who is the throat goatiest class? So true. But my buddy, we were going out to like a bar or something like that, or like a club or something, and we were just talking about like, oh yeah, I can't, like I like to legitimately like go dance and stuff, and we were just talking about, oh yeah, we're gonna go dance and blah blah. And somehow we just started talking about like dancing with, you know, we're both young straight men. And so we were like talking about dancing with women and stuff. And so he hit me with something that I just like, I was like, wow, I never thought about this, but it's so funny. He goes, yeah, I just don't like dancing with girls. Like I don't like grinding on them or like whatever. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, you know what I mean? Cause it's a very sensual thing. Yeah. Like you're there and it's hot and
Tell
heavy.
Me more.
And I go, well, why not? And he goes, cause it's like, I mean, like, are they gonna come home with me? Like, I don't want to just like grind up on them and not get to fuck. And I was like, Jesus Christ,
I can't possibly give any amount of time to flirtation at all. If it's not a path to suck, then why bother? Is this the framework with which we're gonna be reviewing subclasses? I want to say that
often, dude.
I want to say that the opinions relayed by Salvatore's friends in no way reflect the opinions of a little
or
dicey.
Me or a little dicey.
We respect women here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh man,
and we respect the art of seduction.
We respect the art of seduction, baby. That's right. Holy fuck. Yeah, no, I think about that often, and it just made me laugh so hard.
Says dox him.
Dox him. I'm not gonna dox him, but holy fuck, that's it. It absolutely wrecked me. I will say it's not Eric, it's not Tony Romo, so don't worry about it.
Hey Jenna.
Oh, Jenna's here. Hi.
Holy moly!
Holy moly! Truly, yeah. It just, Oh man, I cackled, and I think about that often. The sheer amount of music sales experience. Yeah, no, seriously, like I think about that a lot, and it's fucking funny to me. Oh yeah, good call. Really good call.
Oh wait, I don't want that. See that.
Yeah, that's okay.
That
so we can see chat or whatever. Yeah. Perfect. That's well done. So yeah, I mean, I think we've explained the premise. I threw in a dumb fucking anecdote because I thought it was funny. But yeah, I think why don't we jump in? I think so. If any of you, I mean, right now live on Twitch, our viewers, I'm pretty sure everyone that is watching us right now is part of our Discord, but this is also going to go up on YouTube. And I think it's probably not going to be titled or maybe I don't know. I might edit it up and cut up like a little things, but it might not be titled episode 2 of the podcast. It might just be in the description. I'm gonna try to like my best to like hit the algorithm because like so many things is like, I ranked every single blah blah blah, and this is what happened or whatever. And I'm gonna just try to like see if we can drum up some interaction on YouTube for that shit. So and just to like hit them with a little bit of the premise, everybody's fucking done this. Everybody's on
the classes. I think what we're going to try to do though is hit it from a little bit of a different angle, which if you watched the pod last week, we talked a lot about sort of like supporting the fantasy of your players. And this isn't really a mechanics power ranking.
No, it's I mean, that might have something to do with something off the rip that we if we're seeing like class features that just flat out mechanically suck, right, then they're going to be disappointing. Right. But I do think that like, so we're going to be touching on mechanics for sure. We're going to be touching on power to some degree as it relates to like just having features that are part of the game disappointing. But for sure, at least the way that I'm looking at it is like when I'm playing a bard, do I feel like I'm playing a bard? Right. And are there options available for a bard to let me play the kind of bard that I want to play, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to be hitting it from, I think, a little bit of a different angle than your average dude on YouTube or whatever ranking the classes. But also, let's fucking see what happens. Cause, you know, true. Maybe that'll all fall apart. So you wanted to start with just like the hottest of hot takes. Well, it's not just it's yes. So I mean? Like, I do want to say real quick, the reason why we're going to be starting with Bard today is because our lovely folks at our Discord voted on each of the classes to decide on which one we would start with, and we're going to be taking this relatively slow. Like we're going to actually like dive into these classes. So this is probably going to happen over, not probably, this is definitely going to happen over a few episodes of the podcast, which is great. Content is everything here. So that's lovely to have. So I don't necessarily know if this is going to be, this will definitely be uploaded as episode 2 of the podcast. I don't know if I'm going to cut it up for each however long it takes us and then make one video. I think I might do that. But anyway, so I wanted to start off with, before we jump in, like each class we're gonna be like, all right, so obviously the first class that we're doing is Bard. I want to just jump in immediately with our like front of the mind, like what do we feel about this class? S, A, B, C, or F? Why don't we bring it over to the tier? Let's go ahead and go to Streamlabs, and then go and then go to the scenes, the last one, pod with tier, and then hit transition. Yes. Okay. Very, very good. All right, you can definitely hear us now. Sorry about that, you guys. I forgot to add the microphones in the scene. That's hilarious. Damn it. So go ahead and go to pod with tier. It's, you know, we're doing it live. Go ahead and add to sources. There's a plus sign for sources.
Oh, right here.
Yes, sir. Okay. And then it'll be, where is it? Audio input capture. Right side. That's output. Inside. Right side. There you go. Add source. Microphones, add source. Great. Did we do it? And then we should be able to transition back. Now you guys can definitely hear us. Hell yeah. Cool.
Can you hear us good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
All right, cool.
We figured it out.
So we'll just kind of quickly rehash what we're saying. So we talked about tier lists. We talked about how they're headless because Sal kills his characters.
Yeah.
And then we talked about how the tiny gnome cleric is hilarious. And then Sal asked, let's hit it with the initial kind of like how we feel.
Yeah. Before we do a deep dive, we're going to talk about how we initially feel about the Bard.
Yeah. So for Bard, I was just saying that like Bard is I think a very powerful class, as are basically all the spellcasters, but Bard is definitely a powerful class. And so because I think when you play a Bard, you're never going to feel disappointed based on its power level, I'm not going to be factoring in power level too much in my initial impression, because like it's not going to be a limiting factor.
Right.
So for me, Bard is, I think, the most confusing class conceptually in the whole game.
For sure.
All of the other spellcasters, you know, Wizard is kind of like the engineer. They've figured it out intellectually how their, you know, spellcasting works. Sorcerers just have innate spellcasting ability. You know, the other two get their, the other three, I guess, Warlock, Cleric, and Druid get their spellcasting abilities sort of from a connection to a higher power. The Bard, you know, like in some ways, I think it's supposed to be that like their artistry is so inspiring that it becomes magical. But that doesn't really hold up for me when how they're using it is to like cast a wall of ice or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right, sure.
Like, I think when I think about Bards sort of in lore, a lot of what they're doing are sort of like mass debuffs or mass buffs, where they're like playing a song or they're telling a story and it inspires everybody on the battlefield, or sort of debilitates everyone on all your enemies or whatever. And so to me, I think conceptually the spellcasting of the Bard from a fan, like connecting it to what you're actually doing, is the weakest of all the spellcasters by far. Maybe when we start reading through some stuff, it'll make more sense. I think the idea of a Bard is very, very cool and very kind of interesting to understand. But giving them like sort of plain old ordinary spellcasting, I think is just like feels a little weird.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I totally
That's
agree.
sort of my impression. So
where are we throwing it? S, A, B, C, or F? Does it suck? Is it a little flirty?
I'm going to
throw
put it
ass? Is that what we're calling it?
I'm going to put it a little bit middle of the road, because I don't think it like destroys the flavor of what you're trying to do, but I do think it's just like a little bit weird.
Sure.
So I'm gonna kind of dump it and I'm gonna give it a, you know, I'm gonna give it a C.
C tier. Okay,
and
I got you.
That's my hot take. And by the way, I love Bards.
I love Bards too.
I just don't know if giving them plain old ordinary spellcasting is the best way to represent what I think is the fantasy of the Bard.
Let's if we're gonna do split screen, let's do go ahead and click on the like our portrait in live.
Portrait in live.
Yep. So like the portrait of us. Like yep. Keep going. Keep going down. Nope. Keep going down. Keep going over. Keep going over. The portrait of us. Like the two of us. The two of us.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. But I'm live. So go down. Yeah. And then make it bigger.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Attaboy. All right. Cool. But like, don't overlap the. Nope. Don't overlap the.
Well, we're only ranking 1 today, so fuck it.
Yeah. Okay. It's just gonna look like shit.
God damn it.
Yep, there you go. And now move it up so it's center.
Right.
Oh, nope. Yeah, attaboy.
We're
now
doing
hit transition.
We're really doing it.
Yeah, you got to hit transition.
Yeah,
And that looks a little bit better.
I don't know how to drive. I just know how to talk.
Matt rode his bike here in the rain, miles away.
We lost chat, but anyway. Chat,
we can pull chat.
Just do you.
We can pull chat over. I think we should be able to at least.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm gonna reach over.
Reach over.
I'm reaching.
Give me the reach around. Make it happen.
We're gonna do this.
See, you don't fucking know.
Yeah. This should pop out for some reason, but it doesn't. Boom. Sure, that'll work. Cool. Yep. No, I'm not putting you on my phone. I don't want to fucking use my phone, Aaron.
Yeah.
Anyways, you're going C.
I'm going C.
Cool.
But, you know, hopefully I explained why I'm going C. Bards are dope.
I'm gonna put you on my phone. I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Bards are dope. Bards are dope.
I just think you strum a little tune on your lute, and all of a sudden, there's an explosion.
Yeah,
it doesn't really vibe with the flavor to me.
I agree. I thought I was gonna come in here with a hot steaming take and say I was gonna say C. So I think we both agree. I thought you were gonna put it a little bit closer to maybe at least B. I thought it was gonna hover maybe between A or B, but yeah, I just it's I already disagree and am mad.
I just got here, missed
Dale?
everything, and I already disagree and am mad.
I love you, Dale. Holy shit.
Yeah,
no, man, Bards are C tier. Okay, Bards are C tier. They're what does C stand for?
Cuck tier.
Cuck can't be higher than flirty. Cuck cannot be higher. I mean, someone is getting laid, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So fuck it. C tier's cocks. Bards are cocks. You heard it here first.
This list is going to make as much sense as Bards do.
Very, very true. So here's my initial problem with Bards is that no one plays them how I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be written. Like, you have colleges as your subclasses. No, not a single, I mean, I don't know, I'm speaking broadly, but not a single person I've ever seen play a bard has ever been like, oh yeah, I went to school to learn how to do this. It's like, that's the wizard. And then everyone else is like, oh yeah, I like to play the guitar and also I'm magical. And it's like,
well, and also not to interrupt your stream of thought, but like, actually, I specifically wanted to interrupt you, is because, so you're going to school, but it has nothing to do with intelligence.
Yeah, it has to do with, well, yeah, I know,
You know
it's very odd because like your main stat is charisma, which makes sense in some terms, but it does not take charisma to play an instrument that will cast a spell.
Correct.
It should take intelligence to be able to do that, or dexterity perhaps.
Yeah. If it's quite literally like, hey, we've realized that if you play this song in this way, it will create an effect. One would think that that's an intelligence thing. You are learning how to, basically reverse engineer the metaphysics of the world, just like wizards have, except for instead of, tracing runes in the air, you're playing a song. And that's why, like, to me, maybe it's like when you go to like, acting school, but like hosted by like that like dude under the bridge or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, he's not really like teaching you anything. He's just like, you gotta dig deeper. You gotta dig deeper.
Like, okay.
And it's like purely to like access your inner fire or something. I mean, I don't know, man.
I mean, actually, now that you explain it like that, though, that does make sense to me what they're going for.
Yeah.
But the bard is inherently a musician.
Well,
generally, right? Like you start off with a set of equipment and you get a lute and stuff. You know what I mean?
Certainly that's sort of like the base.
Right. That's the base idea of a bard. Yeah. So that's our initial impression of the bard, C tier. But we're going to take a look at what makes a bard actually tick.
Grim Sonder also so mad right now.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah. Be mad. Maybe we'll change. Maybe our minds will change at the end of this. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Yep. But let's jump over to D&D Beyond. Shouts out to them for just being around, which is great. Oh my god, this would be so annoying to like flip through.
Acquired by Wizards of the Coast. Yeah. So hopefully that makes it better and not worse.
Yeah, hopefully it does. We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, so we're on the Bard sort of main class page on D&D Beyond. We're just gonna. Do we want to actually? Well, let's sort of comb the initial the initial description of Bard to see if we're idiots and we just haven't figured out what bards are supposed to be.
It's literally the second fucking thing is music and magic. Yeah. So you I mean, it's like okay.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, but and they've made subclasses of bard, which are obviously not really
really not for everybody.
Musicians, but anyway, okay. So bard. At the beginning, if you've never been to D&D Beyond's sort of class descriptions, they sort of have like a couple sentences, a few different ways to describe some different types of bards that you might make. So, humming as she traces her fingers over an ancient monument in a long forgotten ruin, a half-elf in rugged leathers finds knowledge springing into her mind, conjured forth by the magic of her song, knowledge of the people who constructed the monument and the mythic saga it depicts. Second one, a stern human warrior bangs his sword rhythmically against his scale mail, setting the tempo for his war chant and exhorting his companions to bravery and heroism. The magic of his song fortifies and emboldens them. Laughing as she tunes her cittern, I guess that's how you say that.
Yep.
A gnome weaves her subtle magic over the assembled nobles, ensuring that her companions' words will be well received. Whether scholar, scald, or scoundrel, a bard weaves magic through words and music to inspire allies, demoralize foes, manipulate minds, create illusions, and even heal wounds. Okay, so when I read that, all of those are basically the bard uses some kind of music to weave magic through, at least the last two are through inspiration. The first one is almost like that the song itself is inherently magical.
Right.
So yeah, that's fine. I mean, I guess my thought is, if the first one is the song is inherently magical, that just feels more kind of either wizardy or sorcerer to me. Like, to have something inherently magical feels like sorcerer.
If the song is inherently magical, it does not make sense to me. Like, the rest of the class does not make sense to me.
Yeah.
I think that it needs to be a level of, I don't think it feels sorcery to me. I think that feels more wizardy.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of being a wizard is that you learn to use the things that are already in the world, and then sorcerers, you're inherently born with the ability to use the things that are in the world. So it's sort of like sorcerer, I guess, is it would be more, which makes sense because they're both charisma classes, sorcerer and bard.
Yeah.
But it would make sense to me that as a bard, you would have to be closer to a sorcerer than you are to a wizard. You know what I mean? And if the song itself is the magical thing, then you are closer to a wizard, and I think that is incorrect.
And by the way, a lot of the inspiration aspect of the flavor of the bard is obviously handled through the Bardic Inspiration feature.
Yeah.
I just know that, like, sort of what it's talking about here, inspiring your allies on the battlefield and blah, blah, blah. To me, it kind of all goes out the window when you, like, tap that sword on your armor and you're, like, trying to rally, your allies to have this, powerful moment, and then you use that and you cast, like, I don't know, like rope trick.
Yeah, and it's like, okay.
Which feels like a very bard spell because it's kind of silly, it's utility, it's I think it's kind of an iconic bard spell in a way.
Sure.
But it just doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. So we'll move on. Music and magic. In the worlds of D&D, words and music are not just vibrations of air, but vocalizations with power all their own. The bard is a master of song, speech, and the magic they contain. Bards say that the multiverse was spoken into existence, that the words of the gods gave it shape, and that echoes of these primordial words of creation still resound throughout the cosmos. The music of bards is an attempt to snatch and harness those echoes, subtly woven into their spells and powers. This just feels like a wizard to me.
Yeah, that's a wizard.
The greatest strength of bards is their sheer versatility. Many bards prefer to stick to the sidelines in combat, using their magic to inspire their allies and hinder their foes from a distance. But bards are capable. This is sort of blah, blah, blah. This is more about mechanics. So yeah, so I guess that's always been my problem with thematically what a bard is it just feels like a charisma wizard.
Which is what a sorcerer is. Well, actually, to speak on what Dale is actually saying, he's suggesting that rather than a bard being closer to a sorcerer is closer to a bard.
Yeah, I
honestly completely agree with that. I think, however, saying that a sorcerer is just a bard who can't sing is incorrect in the sense that a sorcerer's meta magic abilities, which is the sort of selling point of the entire class, is those are great, and I love the idea, and that's what makes them special, and that's why I love when people ask, like when a player asks, like, hey, what Jenna asks this all the time, and raw rules is written, there should be zero reason why she could cast a spell that has a verbal component and somatic components without someone noticing. Right. So there should be zero reason why she can do that, especially as a bard. But I bend the rules. I let her have stealth checks and whatnot or whatever, and she has to be hidden for that to happen. Because if I don't let that happen, then the sorcerer becomes completely irrelevant. Right. Because the whole point of meta magic is to be able to do those things. So I don't necessarily agree that a sorcerer is just a bard that can't sing. I think the sorcerer class follows the fantasy of what D&D is trying to push to what a sorcerer is far better than right now, at the very least, what we have for bards.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I sort of think that the bard as a class could almost be like a weird sort of subclass kind of a thing. And originally
it used to be.
That's what it used to be. It used to be like a prestige class, right,
prestige
or whatever.
Class to be a bard,
in older editions. Because I just think, I actually agree with what Dale's saying. Is it feels like they have through the power of their will, through the power of their charisma, they are manipulating the strands of magic in the world.
Right.
That's what sorcerers are.
That's what sorcerers are. Yeah.
So these are just sort of the utility sorcerer that inspires people on the battlefield. And again, there's not as many. Like, I don't think that there's really a bard character in like the Lord of the Rings trilogy exactly, but like,
there's a character named Bard,
right?
in The Hobbit.
There might be a lesser character,
sure,
but certainly in like the Final Fantasy series or in like other things, there are bards, and they aren't just this,
right?
So anyway, okay, so
I'm actually trying to think. The one bard that like I know in sort of modern.
Oh, here we go.
The modern zeitgeist of fantasy.
Go ahead.
Oh, is I forget. I think his name is not Sunflower. Something. It's from The Witcher. Like that. I mean, okay. And that's really only because like it picked up on Netflix, and I've not Tom Bombadil. I don't believe Tom Bombadil is a bard. I thought Bombadil was just like some mythical god thing. I don't remember. I'll look back. I'll look that back up.
I thought Bombadil only existed so that nerds could get mad that he wasn't included in the movies.
He does sing. He does sing. Very good. No, the bard in The Witcher. What the fuck's his name? Jaskier in the show, and
Dandelion?
then yes, Dandelion, right? Yes, Dandelion. But he has no. As far as I recall, he has no powers. He literally is just a singer, and is literally just like his occupation is a bard. And he is, through his, charisma and his friendship, is able to do certain things and influence people and like distract people and stuff like that. And I kind of like the idea of that type of a class that is more rogue-like, where you, like, I mean, that's basically what, like, I'm pretty sure it's a mastermind rogue. Like, you just straight up have the ability to like say certain things and like people believe you and stuff, but it's not magical. You're just really good at like doing certain things. And I like that idea a bit better. And maybe, you get certain spells like a ranger gets, where it's very limited. You only have very certain spell slots, and then you still get, and then I would like to see the fleshing out of like inspiration or other, because you really don't get that many personal mechanics as a bard. Like, you get inspiration and then like one or two other things like cutting words or whatever. Whereas like so many, like warlock, like they have 2 spell slots, obviously, and that's what limits them, but they have their cantrips that are very, very good, and then they have all of their incantations and all that that just make you, or invocations rather, that just make you a fucking animal. You know what I mean? But that doesn't really happen for the bard.
We'll definitely get into the features here in a second. Complaints about too many classes using charisma. I tend to agree.
There are a lot of charisma classes, yeah.
And so here's I think the sort of the nail in the coffin for me, in terms of whatever. Okay, learning from experience. True bards are not common in the world. Not every minstrel singing in a tavern or jester cavorting in a royal court is a bard. Discovering the magic hidden in music requires hard study and some measure of natural talent that most troubadours and jongleurs lack. So, to me, anything that requires hard study is intelligence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
it makes 0 sense to me that it's a charisma based.
And if I wanted to make a wizard and I was like, hey Sal, I want to be a wizard, but I want this wizard to be a little less of a nerd. So can we just flavor it as, instead of like books, I'm like, I learned to play this fucking pan flute so fucking good that it is unlocked. Like I'm using my instrument instead of tracing runes in the air. Like, you would just be like, yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's a wizard who can play the guitar. It's cool.
So anyway, fucking bards.
Goddamn it.
Bards are dope, but I think the way that they're sort of designed in D&D,
they don't make sense to how. Yeah.
They don't. I don't know. I don't think they feel like bards.
No, it doesn't make sense. The bard on paper just doesn't make sense to me based on how everybody plays bards. Like, it makes 0 sense.
Okay, so let's get into some class features. I think we skip over a lot of this, just sort of like proficiencies and stuff. Obviously, you start with musical instrument proficiencies, so it's baked into the class.
Yeah, it's very weird to me that they have dex saving throw in addition to charisma. I think that a big fix to that is that instead of making dexterity your sort of second stat, which it literally I don't think ever comes up once in the class. Like, I would have liked to see intelligence be the second save.
The reason that they don't is because all classes in D&D have one common saving throw proficiency and 1 rare saving throw proficiency. The commons being Dex,
Strength,
Dex, Constitution, and Wisdom.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it would inherently make them weaker if they had like Charisma and Intelligence, because they don't come up that often. Dexterity to me, and I think, and we will get into this in some of the subclasses, but I do like sort of thinking of that sort of like Esmeralda character. I know that you know, sort of the busker, the performer, the dancer, those types of things, you know, that you could certainly depict them as a rogue, but I like the bard being sort of the magical rogue, in the sense that like there's sort of that, you know, the magic of the song and the dance that pulls you in and almost has like a glamoring effect and blah blah blah. So I could see the dexterity coming up as you're sort of like a almost like a circus performer.
You're gonna love the glamour subclass.
Yeah.
It's, in my opinion, the glamour subclass sort of makes up for all of this, because it's just it in my mind, it's what a bard should already sort of be at the base.
Yeah.
And we'll get there when we get there.
Okay, so obviously you get spell casting. The way that they flavor it here is you have learned to untangle and reshape the fabric of reality in harmony with your wishes and music. Your spells are part of your vast repertoire, magic that you can tune to different situations, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, again, that's just, see that, I don't know. It feels like a combination of wizardry and sorcery to be able to, you know. Anyway, moving on. It doesn't use the word inspire in that list,
right?
At all.
It doesn't.
Okay. So the key feature of bards is obviously Bardic Inspiration. A certain number of times per day, you can give a Bardic Inspiration die to one of your fellow allies. They can roll it and add that number to an ability check, attack roll, or saving throw. It feels very Bardic to me.
Like, that is the basis of that's amazing feature. Probably one of the best direct class to mechanic like link that there is in D&D classes.
Dale says pan flute does not equal less of a nerd.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're
the
not
round table pan flute actually more of a nerd. Hey, fuck you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Hey, pan flute manufacturers, get at me.
That's right. Please,
I will play a pan flute on stream.
Do it. Yeah.
Actually, I have one at home.
Perfect. Damn.
I have one at home.
Yeah.
Anyway, by the way, I'm sure everybody in chat is saying really witty and great things, but I'm paying minimal attention to you.
Naturally.
So we can keep this rolling. Anyway, so Bardic Inspiration, I have no complaints. I think it's an awesome feature. It gets way better when you get them back on a short rest, which I forget what level that happens. It might be level 5. But anyway, totally evokes, I think, what you want bards to be able to do.
100%.
One of the things that I don't like about the subclasses in general, and we'll get into subclasses in a minute, is that a lot of them give you alternate uses for your Bardic Inspiration.
Right.
Which means that you're not inspiring your allies,
right.
You're using them to do other stuff. And I think that kind of sucks. I would like for them
I would say with one exception, and that we'll get there when we cross it, but with one exception, yes, I think, because being able to bolster your allies is the prime use, but I like the option of like, all right, well, instead of bolstering my allies, I'm going to reduce the effectiveness of my enemy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I kind of just wish they could get like both. Like,
yeah,
or like you get 2 additional uses of your Bardic Inspiration that can be used in this way, kind of thing. There's some smaller features. Song of Rest, it gives you, basically makes your short rests more effective. This is very evocative to me. This is great.
Perfect.
You know, sing a little song or tell a little story, and it helps.
And there's no cost to that. It's just whenever you take a short rest. It's great.
You get your Bard College at level 3. Just to read it, you delve into the advanced techniques of a Bard College of your choice. You know, again, you're learning. You are studying. They get expertise. Bards are kind of the there does seem to be a lot of tie-in between Bard and Rogue.
Oh yeah.
Bard is sort of meant to be the sort of the skill monkey of the spellcasters. And expertise, you also get it again at level 10, and expertise is a very cool feature. Do we think it makes sense on a Bard though?
Which again? Sorry.
Expertise
on a Bard? Yeah, I would say so, because there is whether or not we have to decide whether or not the idea of being a jack of all trades as a bard is intrinsically linked with the class, because that is the idea of it.
I'm an idiot. I completely skipped over jack of all trades, which is a very good feature. You add half your proficiency bonus rounded down to any ability check that you aren't already proficient in,
which is another part of the class that sort of allows it to stand out, right? Like we're comparing it to all these other classes because really does feel like a rogue and also a sorcerer and parts of a wizard, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, what about this class besides the inspiration is like actually interesting? And being able to be likely one of, I mean, with the exception of maybe a wizard, because you just have access to so many spells, being one of the classes that is just the most useful outside of combat, which in most games you're spending more time not fighting things than you are fighting things in most games of D&D. Obviously, when you originally started off, you were meant to have like 4 or 5 encounters, like anytime you had a session, which doesn't make sense to me. But nowadays, the way the game is played, for the most part, you are not in combat for the most of the session. And so you, by default of time spent playing the game, you are now the most useful person in the party because of your ability to do all these things.
So I think... again, here's sort of my problem with the design of the class. I think when I think of a bard, I'm thinking about this traveler, this person who's traveling the world, meeting people, not only telling their stories, but gathering stories, right? Because you want that bard character to be the one that on the battlefield is telling the story of Snarlock the Brave in order to invigorate you and make you brave, right? Oh, yeah. Or is traveling the world, developing their techniques for music or dance or whatever that they're doing. And by nature of being that character, I think it makes a lot of sense to be a jack of all trades, because you're meeting. So you're all about meeting people and learning those experiences. And of course, you're going to pick up a little something about, maybe history and about, maybe religion and about all these things that maybe aren't necessarily like, okay, I'm a bard, I'm relying on my charisma, these sort of intelligence skills, or maybe even like athletics or something. But it makes sense to me for that traveling person collecting experiences to know a little bit about a lot of things.
Yeah.
But that doesn't jive at all with the idea of, no, I just went to music school to study music.
Nope, doesn't make it. Those two things, no offense to musicians out there, I've never once met a musician that I'm like, oh, wow, you can do everything.
Yeah, I mean? It's like that's like devoted like 6 hours a day.
Yeah,
the 23-year-old piano player that has
what
arthritis.
Time do you have to?
Yeah. So again, it's like it's a lot. There's a lot of cool shit in this class.
So cool.
And I think that they're probably very fun to play.
Yeah,
but I don't get how these things go together.
Yeah, I agree.
And so again, like expertise and jack of all trades, I think they totally make sense on that sort of wandering troubadour type of character. On dude that went to Juilliard, I don't get it.
Yeah. You can't tell me that fucking Oscar Isaac can do like gymnastics and all that shit.
Counter charm, like this is a really like minimal thing, but I think it's
super
flavorful.
Niche. It's flavorful, but goddamn, it's like, when do you get counter charm? At 6th level?
6th level.
Compared to like other shit in other classes that you get at 6th level, this is dog shit.
The other thing, just for people that don't know what it does, as an action, you can start a performance that lasts until the end of your next turn. During that time, you and any friendly features, any friendly creatures have advantage on saving throws against being frightened or charmed. A creature must be able to hear you, and it ends early if you're incapacitated. The problem with this is it's an action, not a reaction. And so like, if you're the bard and you get frightened, you can't use this.
True.
When you're using your action to run,
you can't
use it.
You can't.
Or if you get charmed, you can't use it.
Right.
So I think it's super flavorful. It just isn't good.
It's not designed well.
And so probably your average bard might use this like once or twice in a campaign forever.
I think that a simple change, and it might sound very overpowered at first, but I think that as a bard, it makes a lot of sense to me. And maybe that's only because of watching the first campaign of Critical Role and just seeing how Sam Riegel played his bard, and how like by the time the second half of the campaign sort of got to the point where they were like level 15 like to level 20, the way he would play his bard was just like masterful. Like he always sort of like takes this facade of like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, but like he fucking, more than anyone in that table, with maybe the exception of like Liam, like he's thinking, and Travis maybe, but he's like really thinking about like, all right, like I have to be this far away. Like he's metagame, quote unquote metagaming as much as he can. And he was just a fucking menace like when they were in combat. So this might sound overpowered, but I think changing counter charm to just straight up being like, you have a certain well of, maybe you can link this with inspiration, and then you just have to like give more inspiration points as you level up than you're getting. But you can just maybe spend an inspiration die to just have the full access to counterspell. Like you can just I use my inspiration counterspell. You know what I mean?
Or
Obviously,
or like a dispel magic, maybe even.
Something. Yeah. What we could call it
It'd be
something,
kind of
and it
interesting.
has the effect to do these certain things. You know what I mean? That also encompasses counterspell, dispel, and I don't know, something like
Having free access to either dispel magic or something which is basically like, hey, there is a magical effect gripping somebody near you. You can produce a song or a poem or whatever it is that is so engaging and intoxicating that you can basically like fuck that, listen to me. You know what I mean? That'd be interesting. The counterspell, forget flavor for a second. It's interesting mechanically, if only because that's what a lot of people take with magical secrets anyway. Everybody's just horny for counterspell. So
I do need to ask this question.
Yeah.
Aaron suggests in the chat that she's got 2 degrees, is learning a 3rd language, and plays 7 instruments, and is saying like, I have time to do all these things. Sure, I feel that. Of those 7 instruments, which one of them do you think you're so good at that you can cause magic to appear?
Yeah, Aaron.
I'm just asking. Which one of those 7 instruments could you think you could play in front of 10,000 people and just be like, yeah, no problem, and like smash it? I'm just being a dick.
Not well, but I can.
See, but you can.
Yes.
But the whole point of playing the instrument as a bard so well is that it is the focal point of your class, of what you are as a person. So the idea that you can do all these other things while also being arguably one of the best in the world at playing the guitar, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, I know
Bards
we don't
so
really
good.
like John Mayer that much or whatever because he's weird, but like he plays the guitar better than most people in the world, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Probably is a bard IRL. There's no way that motherfucker is like also good at like
Bards are
most
so
of
good
the things that bards
are so good at their instrument that the universe is like, fuck, that poem was so good, I guess I better let you create a hole in the universe.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it's yeah. All right, so just to wrap this up, wrap up the base abilities. They get magical secrets at 10th, 14th, and 18th level,
Which is just wizard. That's all wizard shit. That is just wizard shit.
Which lets you understand a spell. Basically gives you access to a spell on another list.
Which is also just so boring, dude.
You have plundered magical knowledge from a wide spectrum of disciplines, and that's all it says.
That's all it is.
So, like, I can actually get behind this. Reason being is it's high level, and I think I can rationalize that, like, your bardic skill is so like powerful that you almost just like stumbled into some shit that, like, you know what I mean? Like, you were playing that song that day and that inspiration hit you and you're like, oh, what if I go to a fucking F#9 right now? And you hit it and all of a sudden, like, a fucking fireball.
Lightning bolt.
Yeah,
you're like, oh shit.
God damn, like, none of my boys can do that.
Yeah.
You know? So I can get behind it.
But then again, my question to that is, well, then what is the magical thing, or is it the chord that you just played? Because if you've been playing all these different things and then randomly you hit this specific chord and a lightning bolt, you're like, oh shit, I can do this now. It's like, all right, well, are you the magical one, or did you just discover the right chord that corresponds to the spell component? Also,
the flavor as written, like I've made up my own flavor to justify it, but the flavor as written is you have plundered magical knowledge from a wide spectrum of disciplines, which literally sounds like you broke into a wizard's library and stole his shit.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. This just feels like a wizard.
So Daryl, the hero, rather. What up? I haven't seen you in chat before. If you have been here, sorry, I don't really look at chat too much. That's Michaela's job. But they say bards gaining access to ranger and paladin spells faster than rangers and paladins can get them can't be scoffed at.
Yeah, Daryl, in case you missed the beginning of the stream today, no one here. What up? No one here is arguing that bards are bad.
No, bards are very cool and good.
Yes.
We're just talking about like how they're sort of perceived and then how they're written, and the way we're rating these classes is what is the divide between like what a bard actually is and like what we're presented with.
Yeah, what is the fantasy of the character and how well is that displayed in the mechanics?
Yeah.
So bards are very powerful. No question about it.
Bards are very powerful.
I would play a bard.
I love bards.
They just don't feel as bardy as you.
They're just not bards.
They just don't feel like bards. They still feel like
bards.
They feel like persuasion wizards.
Persuasion Yeah. Persuasion wizards for sure.
With a bunch of skills for some reason. Okay, let's hop into
Persuasion wizard
subclasses,
rogues.
and we'll have to hit these. Well, first of all, we've gone through the base class.
Yep.
I don't. It doesn't sound like either of us have read anything that would make us change our base opinion of the flavor of the class. I'll start by answering. I'm sticking with a C.
You might have, if we were to talk about that longer, you might have convinced me to bump it up to a B, but
Okay.
It's, I don't know. It's still too far removed.
The spell casting is so removed flavor wise from all the other abilities that they get that it just
Yeah, no, I agree.
doesn't jive for me. And I've always just been somebody that thought bards were so cool in like lore, and I want to have that thing where like I feel like it's my my music or my poetry is so inspiring that it has magical effects on people, and I think that that's not really how it comes across for me. Okay, let's hit these bard colleges real quick. There's 7 of them.
Probably let's just go through like the descriptions of them and just be like, all right, well, does that sound like what we like more of what a bard could be, or is this like just out of fucking left field?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Okay, so first one, College of Creation. Bards believe the cosmos is a work of art, the creation of the first dragons and gods. That creative work included harmonies that continue to resound through existence today, a power known as the Song of Creation, blah, blah, blah. The bards can access this Song of Creation that they hear in their minds to create shit. And literally, this subclass... It gives you bonuses on top of your Bardic Inspiration, which is cool, and lets you like actually manifest like conjure mundane items, weaving them out of the ether. I think this subclass is very cool.
Very cool subclass.
I think it's a very cool subclass. I like the idea that you have become so connected to the very fabric of creation, the Song of Creation. You hear it in your mind, that you are able to tap into it. And I would flavor this less like I'm creating stuff, but more like I can almost like speak to the song or replay the song in a way that just like the song itself created things in the world. This feels like sorcery to me more than
Bardstry.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because you haven't like, you get this at 3rd level,
right?
So you can't argue that you are such a powerful bard that you can now play the Song of Creation. It's like you woke up one day and were like, oh, holy fuck, like I hear it.
I can hear it.
I understand the universe in an intrinsic way,
right? And
can now use the fabric of, space-time to pull things into existence. I think it's very cool. It doesn't really hit the flavor of Bard. To me, the animating performance later, you can sort of
super fun.
Create
that's
like
fun.
Dancing things, dancing items. I think that's cool. That feels like very what's the famous like I don't think it's from Fantasia, the Mickey Mouse thing where he's the wizard and he sort of makes
that's Fantasia.
Is it Fantasia? Yeah, where he sort of animates the brooms
so cool.
to whatever. That feels Bardic.
It's very Disney to me.
I like that.
Yeah, it's very Beauty and the Beast, like, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and at late levels you can just create bigger stuff.
Yeah, which is cool.
So I think it's cool.
Mm-hmm. This one is great. So there are 2 subclasses for the Bard that I fucking love: College of Eloquence and College of Glamour. Like, I love these subclasses.
Yeah, College of Eloquence is the next one. Adherents of the College of Eloquence master the art of oratory. So here this is not a player's handbook class.
Nope.
We've departed from the kind of the musician necessarily. So this is an orator. Persuasion is regarded as a high art, and a well-reasoned, well-spoken argument often proves more persuasive than facts. Very true. These bards wield a blend of logic and theatrical wordplay, winning over skeptics and detractors with logical arguments and plucking at heartstrings to appeal to the emotions of audiences. And
it's fucking spoken word, dude. It's dope. It's fucking such a cool idea.
Essentially, what this subclass boils down to is you're really good at persuasion, and you can expend one use of your Bardic Inspiration to. Is this just cutting words? Kind of. Roll the Bardic Inspiration die. The creature must subtract the number rolled from the next saving throw it makes.
It's the saving throw. Cutting words is an attack.
Okay, yeah. So it's similar to. Okay, yep.
which is why it's unsettling words, which is so funny.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then the sort of flagship ability of this class is that, like, basically if you use a Bardic Inspiration die and it doesn't make you succeed, you just get to keep the die.
Yeah, it's great. Which is fucking great.
Yeah, I love thinking of the Orator Bard as an option, and I think this depicts it well.
I mean, I think that you can take I think you can take a lot of what is built into this subclass and just bake it into the base of what a bard is. Like it starts to lean a lot more towards the idea of like, all right, well, bards are extraordinarily good with their diction, with their wordplay, with their like anything oratory, and also like their musicality. Like those should be the two things that you sort of base the class around, not necessarily like oh, I woke up one day and now I can hear, like it's too sorcerer-y, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I would, if I were to redesign the Bard, just like real quickly, I would probably not make it a full spellcaster, and I would also not make it a full. I would like to see it
spellcaster,
more something that like gets some spells, probably a half caster, but also just has abilities that are focused on buffing and debuffing, literally inspiring your allies and making your foes fall apart with the power of your just the power of your will. Daryl mentions Eloquence is actually cracked.
This subclass
is
it's
crazy
fucking
good.
nuts.
Wizards has not done a good job of making the subclasses balanced against one another.
Nope.
For sure. And I will also say that a lot of classes have that one subclass that feels like it could just be the base class.
Yep.
Like this, and this is the most bardy bard.
Well, when we get to Glamour, you may change your mind, but we'll see.
Okay, so let's move on. College of Glamour.
There you go.
The College of Glamour is the home of bards who have mastered their craft in the vibrant realm of the Feywild, or under the tutelage of someone that dwelled there. Tutored by satyrs, eladrin, and other Fey, these bards learn to use their magic to delight and captivate others. The bards of this class are regarded with a mixture of awe and fear. Their performances are the stuff of legend. These bards are so eloquent. It's funny, we just did the
I know, it's so weird. It's like, all right.
That a speech or song that one of them performs can cause captors to release the bard unharmed and can lull a furious dragon into complacency.
Like that's I mean, just that fucking sentence alone is like what I think of like when I think of a bard. So, I don't think of like a bard like when it's like, oh, I'm a dee, you know what I mean? I think of someone who can literally get out of a situation by just being like, come on guys, I'm cool, and everyone's like, yeah, dude.
Yeah, hell yeah. So at third level,
I love Mantle, by the way.
You can use a use of your Bardic Inspiration to grant you a wondrous appearance. When you do so, you grant temporary hit points, and you can use your reaction to move up to your speed. And enthralling performance, you can charge your performance with seductive Fey magic, and you can inspire wonder in the audience by singing, reciting a poem, or dancing. Choose a number of humanoids, and basically they become charmed.
They become charmed, yeah. It's great.
Yeah. So I totally agree with what you just said. To me, this is actually, it's kind of betrayed by that first sentence.
That is very true.
The College of Glamour to me feels like very similar to College of Eloquence, except for it's sort of the Fey magic, mystical version, where the College of Eloquence is almost like, no, literally you are just so effective. It's kind of what I was talking about before, where you're just like so effective that like people just can't help but be like compelled by it.
Yeah. It's great.
These kind of feel like two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
I think you could flavor almost the same character with either one.
I agree, and that's why I really like those subclasses, and I think that a lot of them, College of Lore is just the College of Lore is the most base version of the Bard class, because it's everything. I mean, it's what Scanlan was. It's everything that it's literally just like you're a bard. You can use cunning words, and then you have expertise, and you're a wizard.
Yeah, and it was the most powerful subclass
by far
before Eloquence came around.
Yep. College of Lore is, if you were not College of Lore as a bard, your character mechanically was not
as good as it could be. So College of Lore, you collecting bits of knowledge from sources as diverse as scholarly tomes and peasant tales. This is that traveler who's mingling with different cultures and collecting stories. This feels very bardy.
Yeah,
which is besides its mechanic effectiveness. This feels something very evocative, I think, which is why people like it. Cutting words is similar to that unsettling words, where you can basically de-inspire, rattle an enemy with your words so that they miss you, and they get their other big thing is they get magical secrets earlier than everybody else, which flavor wise makes sense.
Cool. Yep.
So I think College of Lore is cool. I'm okay with some subclasses making it just dabble a little bit in another class. This is sort of like, to me, this should be sort of the wizard bard. Problem being that the bard is too wizardy for my taste.
I think that College of Lore is not so in tune, but like just tuned enough to the base class that I don't like that it is a subclass. Like, it's just like most of these things we should just like, bards should just be able to use cunning words. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that you have to take a certain subclass to do that. Like, I just think
if you made them not full spellcasters, you would have more room to give them more features.
Exactly.
But because they're full spellcasters, you have to be pretty minimal with the other stuff you give them.
Exactly.
All right. I think there's only 2 left.
Swords and Valor, which Valor is the worst subclass there is, because that was their first.
No, there's 3.
Oh, there's 3. College of Whispers, got it.
Yeah.
College of Valor. I know we're skipping swords right now, but just to give you an idea of what swords is, College of Valor was the 5th edition attempt to allow a bard to like also be melee useful, and it completely failed. Like there is no use for a bard in close-up combat. Like it doesn't work. The rest of your features, your health pool, your armor class, all this different stuff, like it's not viable. It just really isn't.
Yeah, this is a College of Valor is a bard that basically gets medium armor, shields, martial weapons. It's kind of the Hexblade. It's meant to kind of be a similar thing where you can take a spellcaster and turn them into a Gish.
Except
people that don't know, Gishes are sort of spellcasters that are meant to be able to get into melee.
Yeah.
It's a trope or theme that's in tons of stories, and has been not implemented very well in Dungeons and Dragons, because either they are really bad or too good,
or they're cracked.
In the case of Hexblade.
Yep.
And then I do want to touch on College of Swords,
which is their attempt to better this subclass.
Yes. So College of Swords, you get proficiency with medium armor and the scimitar. You can use it as a spellcasting focus for your bard spells. And then you get a fighting style, and then you can use blade flourishes, which are sort of like battle master maneuvers, but they're much simpler.
Do you get fighting styles in Valor? I don't think you don't.
You don't.
Which is like, what?
Yeah. And I think the flavor of Valor is almost more like you're cavorting with the arm. You're like in the barracks, you're on the battlefield.
Great flavor, but
great flavor, yeah.
Mechanically, it doesn't match up to that.
I have heard, I've never played a swords bard. I haven't looked into it that much. I've heard that it's relatively good. It is viable. I love the flavor of it. To me, this is that juggler in the streets who is juggling the swords, and then the town guard comes and it's like, oh, actually, this dude's like a legit warrior. Right. I love this as sort of like a roguey. Flavor-wise, it's a little bit rogue, but what you're doing is that you're juggling almost. The way that you wield swords is almost more of a dance, and that. So I love the flavor of this. My problem with swords, and we'll touch on Whispers real quick too. I know we're coming up on an hour. Thanks everybody for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out,
by the way. Here's what I want to say about Swords Bard. I don't know if people out there know what a Bladesinger is.
Bladesinger is easily the most broken subclass in the whole 5th edition.
So Bladesinger is a very powerful subclass of wizard.
Yep.
Can we just fuck off from bards for a second and just read the description of Bladesinger?
Read Bladesinger if it's available. You have to go back.
Yeah.
Right side. Yep.
Yeah.
Drop down.
Game rules.
Wizard.
Classes.
I might not have it available. We'll see.
Because it's not a
blade singing.
Blade singing. Cool. Okay. Let me just fucking read blade singing, and you tell me why this is a wizard and not a bard.
Yep. Go for it.
Blade singers master a tradition of wizardry that incorporates swordplay and dance. Originally created by elves, this tradition has been adopted by non-elf practitioners who honor and expand on the elven ways. So we're talking culture, tradition, dance. In combat, a Bladesinger uses a series of intricate, elegant maneuvers that fend off harm and allow the Bladesinger to channel magic into devastating attacks and cunning defense. Many who have observed a Bladesinger at work remember the display as one of the more beautiful experiences in their life, a glorious dance accompanied by a singing blade. And their feature is called Blade Song.
And their
Blade Song.
They have another feature called Training in War and Song.
Yeah.
Like it's literally like this should just be a bard.
Their 10th level feature. Yeah, I just want to read Blade Song.
Yeah.
You can invoke an elven magic called the Blade Song, provided you aren't blah, blah, blah. It graces you with supernatural speed, agility, and focus. You can start the Blade Song, dismiss it. It doesn't actually talk that much about it. So yeah, you are practicing an ancient traditional dance, which is so beautiful and evocative that it creates an incredible buff on the wizard. I didn't hear anything about like, oh, you read a bunch of fucking books and do some calculations.
No.
Level 10th feature, the Song of Defense.
Yep.
Level 14th feature, the Song of Victory. Why this is a wizard, I have no idea.
It makes zero sense to me.
There's nothing about like, oh, you've traced runes onto your blade. There's nothing about you studied the ancient art. Yeah, this to me is, if you're going to make a melee bard, or I would like, that's it.
Yeah, that's a melee bard.
That's it right there.
So we've come up upon sort of the end of our hour length here that we have. We've pretty much gone over nearly every subclass and every bit of the bard as we could, with the exception of College of Whispers, which I will be honest with you, I'm familiar with the College of Whispers. It's not going to change my mind about anything with the bard, to be totally honest with you.
College of Whispers is kind of like the Glamour bard, but sort of like the evil one, right?
The
it's
evil
sort of
Glamour
like manipulating
bard.
them.
It's the spy Glamour bard, whatever. Yeah, same thing.
I think flavor-wise, it's
cool.
I think flavor-wise, it is cool to imagine a bard who's like using their inspiration to do nefarious things to, I think it works.
I think it works as well.
I think it works.
So how do we feel, Matt? End of the day, after talking about this, does the bard suck, dude? A lot of people would say the bard's probably sucking the most. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say bard stays at cuck for me.
I think bards are real good.
Real good.
I like a lot of the flavor in the subclasses.
Love them.
I just think that the spell casting, which is the
root of the class,
the root of the class, and the reason why that and the other four full spellcasters are very powerful.
Yep.
I just think it does them a disservice.
100%. If the bard was a half caster that focused a little bit more on specific features to its class, that it would be, I mean, personally for me, that alone would bump it even close to S tier for me, because like the whole thing about the class is so fucking cool, so fun, it's good, it feels great to play, but like it just doesn't match up with what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think is there an argument that we've
should we bump up to B tier?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there an argument that we've been so harsh on like just the fact that they are a full spellcaster that like is the subclass design actually pretty good and it's just the base class that's like very annoying? I don't know. Should think about that for a second.
Maybe we start the next episode off with our full verdict, so they have to tune in.
Oh yes, let's just take this bard and kind of give a little wiggle,
who knows?
Wiggle,
we're flirting in between boobs and cock. Boobs.
I'm gonna bump it up to a B for now.
Oh, okay. Respect. Big respect. Big respect for sure.
I want to love Bard so bad.
B for Bard.
I want to love Bard so bad. But we love you guys so bad.
Wow, that was very good, man.
Did we do it,
buddy? I'm very proud of you.
Did we do it?
Yeah, hell yeah, you guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to the second episode of the podcast. This is obviously only the beginning of possibly a 15-part series. We might not be. It is cock, not cock. Michaela, thank you. C for cuck, S for suck, F for flirty. I'm thinking A for ass, B for boobs and or balls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
but like actually boobs and her balls.
Boobs and her balls.
Boobs and her balls.
Yeah, that's my
buddy
cousin
from college.
Yeah, it's my buddy. Boobs and her balls.
It's my tires guy.
Exactly. Very good. Very good, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us. We're going to be back next Friday, noon like usual. It's for about an hour. And we may or may not start with the Artificer. If you're a part of our Discord, please go check that out. We might have another vote coming next week to see who we want to talk about next. So.
Yeah. Let us know what you thought. Hit us with your hot takes. Tell us how fucking dumb we are.
Yeah, do it.
And tell us what you want to see next.
Fuck yeah. We'll see you guys soon. Next time we'll see you is either on Tuesday or Wednesday. So, peace.
See you guys.